Okay, putting out a video on how I winterize my boat. This is a 2003 Monterey 24-foot bow rider with a 350 mag engine in it. First thing I'll do is add a fuel stabilizer. The container you'll see here will do up to 80 gallons, and this boat has a 75-gallon tank, so I'll add the entire thing and then add fuel afterwards. This way it mixes thoroughly. You'll also want to fill your tank up completely to eliminate any air, because that's what's going to make your fuel go bad, the moisture in the air that's left in your tank. So if you fill the tank, that won't be a problem. So I have a water flush spigot there that I've installed. They sell a kit where there's a valve, a one-way valve that blocks off the inlet if you have it through your OUTDRIVE. I install this, and every time I need to warm up the engine or flush it, this is what I'll use, and it's much more convenient. So for those people who are having trouble with those muffs or whatever, this is always an option for you as well. So I'll connect water to it and start warming up the engine prior to my oil change. Once we've made that connection, we'll turn on the water and then go start the engine, and you want to run it for at least 15 to 20 minutes and get the engine as warm as you can, because the viscosity is pretty thick on the oil that you use in the boat motor. And you'll see in a minute, I have this tube that's connected to my drain plug that comes out of the drain hole on the stern, and it's a very small orifice. You want the oil to be really hot in order to be able to flow out, and even then it still is not coming out quickly. So as you can see here, that's the rate at which the oil comes out. It is hot, and all of it came out. You just have to give it time. The next step is to run your engine on a fuel fogging mix. Mercury recommends that you put a 10-to-1 2-cycle oil and gasoline mixture in a 5-gallon container, disconnect the fuel line, and then run it off that for 15 minutes. Obviously, that seems to be a little bit overkill. This is the way I've done it for the past couple of years, and it's worked out well. I take the amount of fuel that fits into the fuel filter water separator, make that 10-to-1 fuel mixture with 2-cycle oil and gasoline, put it in there, and then run the engine for about another 10 minutes. You could do it while you're warming up for your oil change or after. It's purely up to you. But I've seen other people pour oil down into the manifold through the throttle body, but if it's a dry manifold, there's MAP sensors in there, so you really don't want to mess around with, getting the contaminated MAP sensor have false readings or whatever. I think this is the best way to do it, is to induce it through your fuel system. And this is, for me, the easiest way that I could think of doing it. And I pulled the plugs out at one point, and there was oil on there. So it seems to have been working, and I had no issues with it. So that's my fogging procedure. And I'll show you something else I do. And if you're getting any value out of this, or any tips that can help you out, please, doesn't take much. Like and subscribe would really help out, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. So Mercury sells this fogging spray. If you have a carbureted engine, you could spray this right down into the carburetor. If you don't, then the only other thing you can really do with it is really use it to, sometimes what I do is just pull the plugs and spray it into each individual cylinder, and then rotate the engine by hand. That'll get the cylinder walls coated and protected for the winter season. So if you want to go through the extra trouble, you could do that, but otherwise, the other fogging procedure should be sufficient for protection. If you're storing your boat on a trailer, I like to use some blocking to raise the level up, so that if any water gets into the boat and makes its way to the bilge, it won't build up in there, and of course leave the plug out, and it'll make its way out. So you could use a number of different type of blocking systems, whatever really makes you happy to feel that it's secure. Now after you're done fogging the motor, it's time to run it on the pink antifreeze, and before you do that, you want to remove as much of the water in the engine as possible. So you'll take that first initial blue plug up top, and then remove the bottom plug down there, and any blue plugs you can find, really, to get all the water out of the engine. I already did this before the video. I'd forgotten to take it, so not much water is coming out, but usually it'll start gushing out. So you want to make sure that your plug is out of the back of your boat so that it could drain out the bilge. And after you've done that, replace the blue plugs, and it's time to remove the thermostat. So you want to remove, there are two sensors on either side of the thermostat housing, and two bolts holding it onto right there. So you'll take the hose clamps off, the sensor plugs off as well, and then I use a tool like this to just break the seal that's created after it being clamped on for so long, and it makes life a lot easier to just work it around real quick, and then it just pops off. So once you've done that and removed the two bolts, you'll just give the housing a little shot, and it should break free. So after you've knocked it off, it should come off just like that, and you'll see the thermostat.
It really stinks like fish. And it's been thoroughly rinsed as well.
That'll happen after seawater's been in there for a while. This has a clear, not a clear, but a white plastic retainer that holds the thermostat in. You'll pull that out, and then pull the thermostat out right after. Like that.
Yeah, I've reused this gasket twice. I might order another one for next year, but usually you can get away with it depending on the condition.
At this point, I'll replace the thermostat housing again and replace the two plugs or any blue plugs that you've taken out, and prepare for feeding it the pink antifreeze. Now I've made up this system here where I just took a piece of hose, fit it to a 5-gallon bucket, and I'll feed it through here. I'll usually fill this bucket up twice, so I'll probably do 10 gallons. There's probably maybe a little bit of water still left in the motor, so I know that if I've run 10 gallons of the pink antifreeze through, that I probably eliminated all of that water, and that the motor will just sit for the remainder of the season with antifreeze in it. Now I have a freshwater tank for the sinks on my boat. If you have sinks in your boat, you'll have to winterize this as well. Turn all the faucets on to drain as much as you possibly can out of this tank, and I added about 3 gallons of the pink antifreeze in here, and then just run the faucets and wait till they turn pink. Once they're pink, you know that the lines are all winterized, and your drains as well. Now, whether you shrink wrap your boat or tarp it, these are good to buy. I got these from the dollar store, and I placed them in different places on the boat before I cover it, to try to eliminate a lot of the mold that occurs on the seats and other surfaces. So I'll put it on one in the engine compartment, and the others in different locations throughout the boat. And they fill up. By the time I de-winterize the boat, they're all full of water. So I hope it helps.
So the last and final step is to cover the boat. I don't shrink wrap it. I use this tarp in here because sometimes I like to get in there and start the engine before I'm actually going to put it in the water, and it just makes it easier to get in and out of. Underneath that tarp is the canvas covering with 2 pitch poles to prevent any snow from caving it in and things like that. So I used a PVC 2-inch PVC pipe on the main one with a tennis ball on the top of it. That was enough for stability. The trailer is pitched back so that if any water gets in, because last year I used the tarp that was 5 mil thick and the snow actually ripped it. This one's 10 mil, so I should be good with that. And so any water that gets in, if there is any, will come out the drain plug in the back. So just make sure your drain plug's out. Make sure your OUTDRIVE is tilted all the way down so that any rainwater or anything like that just falls off of it and doesn't accumulate anywhere that it's not supposed to. Plus your bellows boot isn't stretched either when you leave it in that position. I usually tarp down loosely like this just to give it some extra, room for wind to get under there, because it's good for airflow if you get some airflow throughout the boat there, so you avoid any moisture conditions in there that'll cause the seats to get that mold that happens every year. I'm hoping this year it's a lot less. I've also removed any removable seats that I had in there. My main seats are removed. Any cushions that were easily removable without taking any screws out were removed, and I just put them on top of my garage. That's a good space that doesn't have any moisture, and that's basically it. This is going to be laid up for the next 6 months, just like this. And I hope this video helped, gave you some ideas. You don't have to follow it to the T, but I'm sure it helped you in some way. I'll leave a description of a step-by-step process in the description. And if you got anything out of this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Peace.